Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have to talk about the huge news that the Warner Brothers Picture Group chairman Toby Emmerich has stepped down from his position and how the DC president Walter Hamada is possibly the next target on Zaslav's hit list. This is not a rumour, Variety and The Hollywood Reporter are reporting about it, and they have been correct about every single firing and hiring at Warner Brothers Discovery. So let's break down the articles, talk about everything revealed, and discuss what this means for DC moving forward. So the Variety article is titled "Toby Emmerich Steps Down as Warner Brothers Picture Group Chairman, Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdy Taking Over Studio." Emmerich will be replaced by Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy, who will be named co-chairs of Warner Brothers Pictures Group. Emmerich's departure raises questions about the future of several key lieutenants at the studio, many who have served at his side for decades. Among those whose future is murky is DC Films chief Walter Hamada, who had been credited with stabilizing the cinematic output at the division and bringing some quality control to a company that had suffered several critical failures such as Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Just remember that those two critical failures were both interfered with by the studio, and we are yet to see the true version of Suicide Squad. Sources say that Emmerich opted to leave of his own volition, but Zaslav had also had a series of meetings with potential replacements around Hollywood that may have contributed to the executive's decision to move along. He is expected to get some kind of production deal. A Hollywood Reporter added, "Sorting out DC remains a major challenge for Zaslav. Sources say he has asked Todd Phillips, the multi-hyphenate who created dark 2019 billion-dollar grosser Joker, to do more in the DC universe, potentially acting as an advisor, though he will not serve in an executive capacity. As well as DC Films president Walter Hamada will report to DeLuca and Abdy until new leadership is identified, and the head of the animation vertical is yet to be named." So, Toby Emmerich is finally leaving the role as chairman, and Walter Hamada not only has new unbiased people to answer to, but also has his future at the company unknown. At Canned B Movies has created a tweet for the good and bad films that have been created under DeLuca's watch, and it's been pretty mixed. DeLuca and Abdy were admired by Zaslav, which is why they have taken over from Emmerich. Toby Emmerich hasn't left the company, but instead will be moved into some sort of producer role, which doesn't mean he is gone forever, but it means he won't be the one making the big decisions. Now, I've always made it clear, I never push for people to lose their jobs. I just want DC to be the best it can possibly be. And with Ann Sarnoff, Toby Emmerich and Walter Hamada, that was never going to be the case. Now, 2 out of the 3 are gone, and it looks like Hamada will be next, or at least won't have the freedom as he once did when his friends were in charge. Does this mean the SnyderVerse will now be restored? No. Just because the people who didn't want the SnyderVerse are now gone, doesn't mean the SnyderVerse will be restored. There are many moving parts to a SnyderVerse restoration, but the main thing to be happy about right now is that DC will be a better brand now that Emmerich is gone. Now, obviously, I would love to say that now Emmerich, Sarnoff, and maybe Hamada are all gone, Zack Snyder can now return to the DCEU to complete his story. But we have to think realistically here. Snyder is currently working on Rebel Moon and then the next Army of the Dead, which will take up until the end of 2023. You have Zaslav, who has said that they are currently working on a long-term plan for DC, and we know that that plan will take a while to create, and we know that there are DC films scheduled up to mid-2023. So realistically, the plan couldn't really start until 2024, unless they did reshoots for the new DC films for them to fit in to his new plan. So just like the Snyder Cut, if you want to see Snyder back in the DC universe, you're gonna need to be patient, which is difficult but nowhere near impossible. Now, this doesn't mean a deal can't be made before. Legally, I don't think Snyder can talk about another contract whilst currently under contract with Netflix, but he can talk to Zaslav or whoever takes charge of DC or DC Studios about a hypothetical return and what that could look like. The key thing is that if you are a DC fan like me, then this news should excite you, because no matter what you think of the DC universe right now, it has been limited by Toby Emmerich. There is huge potential for the DC universe, but that has been restricted by Toby Emmerich and even Walter Hamada. The DC universe has been given a rare opportunity, to be given a second chance. A new company, a new structure, and a new reputation. With the executives being removed and a long-term plan being put into place, the DC universe can now thrive if executed correctly. Now, our favourite scooper, Grace Randolph, has released her completely unbiased opinion about Toby Emmerich and our reaction, and this is what she had to say. You SnyderVerse fans are weird. Toby Emmerich is still at Warner Brothers. He got a producing deal, and Zaslav loves him and said he's so happy he's staying at the studio. Thank you so much, Grace, for those kind words. I said in a quote retweet of this tweet, yet again, she sounds pretty annoyed. We're not happy because we think he's been removed from the company. We're happy because we're seeing him moved from his current position. The article is giving hope to DC fans. Obviously, Twitter limits how much you can say in one tweet, so I will add on from that post. It's giving hope to DC fans because the person who held it back for so long is leaving that role. That is good news for DC fans, not just SnyderVerse fans. Now, there are many people who believe that Grace Randolph is on Warner Brothers' paycheck, specifically executives like Toby Emmerich, and that is why she gets very annoyed when people are happy about those certain executives getting removed from power. And whilst I'd like to hope that isn't the case, the evidence does seem to push towards that. She seems to get very annoyed when fans are happy about old Warner Brothers executives being moved on from the company, and she seems to try and personally insult fandoms, specifically SnyderVerse fans, if they are happy about a departure. Ray Fisher has posted his opinion about Toby Emmerich and has got the support from Wayne T. Carr and Ray Porter. Wayne T. Carr also posted this image with the quote, "It's never too late to try and make things right." And he tagged in Warner Brothers Discovery, making it clear that he thinks the company can still restore the SnyderVerse. Now, Toby Emmerich hasn't actually been removed from the company. Instead, he is becoming a producer. In fact, it looks like he is starting up his own production company under Warner Brothers Discovery. So we need to wait and see if that has anything to do with DC, because if he isn't producing any DC related content, then that is great news. But what we do know is that he isn't calling the shots anymore, and Walter Hamada won't be able to get away with everything that he has been able to get away with under his friend Toby Emmerich. Todd Phillips may be a temporary DC advisor, and this is probably due to Zaslav's admiration of the Joker's low budget, high box office success. Personally, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Joker, but it did resonate with a lot of DC fans. So having Phillips be a DC advisor could create success for DC. Personally, I think they should turn DC into its own studio, funded directly by Warner Brothers Discovery, but away from the company. I would remove Walter Hamada and have whoever replaces him report directly to Zaslav. The replacement has to be someone who knows DC in and out. One that is open-minded but won't just greenlight any random DC project. A Kevin Feige for the DC universe, but one that utilizes the multiverse so that multiple storylines can be told at once. I think for too long, DC has been held back by Warner Brothers. If you want DC to thrive, you need to detach them from the company. Create DC Studios, funded by Warner Brothers Discovery, but isn't controlled by executives who know nothing about DC. I think that is something Zaslav will decide to do, and I think it is something that DC and DC fans will benefit from. In terms of the SnyderVerse, I think this is the time for fans to be their loudest. The old regime is crumbling, and the new executives are stepping in. They are working on a long-term DC plan, and if you want the SnyderVerse to be a part of it, then we need to be vocal. DC will change for the better, and I want the SnyderVerse to be a part of that future. So this is the ideal time for fans to push for the SnyderVerse to be restored. But what do you think about this news? Are you excited about the future of DC, or do you think nothing will change? Let me know in the comments below. But that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I hope to see you here again soon, so until then, have a great day. Bye!